In today's video, we're going to continue on with our NHL offseason plan series, and we're looking at the 31st ranked team from the NHL's regular season, the Chicago Blackhawks. Another tough year in Chicago, but what do they have to look forward to this season? We're going to take a look at how this past season went, and then we're going to analyze their contracts, the draft, free agency, trades. What should we expect from the Blackhawks this offseason? We'll discuss that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're analyzing the Chicago Blackhawks 24-25 NHL season and discussing what their plans are likely going to be for the offseason coming up to get ready for 25-26. As I mentioned, we're going to recap last year, take a look at how everything went, analyze their cap space, contracts that are expiring, take a look at the draft, free agency, trades, coaching, all that stuff to see what we can expect to have for news and business out of this team throughout the next few months as they go into the full-fledged offseason. So let's first recap last year and take a look at how things went. Obviously, the 31st ranked team in the NHL did not have a good season. They finished with a record of 25, 46, and 11 for 61 points. That is a slight improvement over last year. Last year, they had 23 wins, 53 losses, and 6 overtime losses for 52 points. So that is a 9-point improvement. It's still pretty bad in terms of the results. I don't think their players were having a ton of fun there this year, but it is at least trending in the right direction. I think we can say they've already completely bottomed out. Now begins the slow climb to get back into respectability and to have a shot at contending for the playoffs, which obviously is most likely going to take a few years here. This past year, they scored 224 goals. That's a big improvement. The year before, they only had 179. They allowed 292 this past year, whereas the year before, they allowed 290. So that actually got slightly worse. Didn't improve, but we saw a big improvement on the offensive side, which I guess is the positive we'll pull out of this year. Their power play, however, was quite good, 24.9%, which is in the upper half of the league, whereas the year before was only 16.6%. So the power play, much, much better. The penalty kill, which was in the middle of the league as well, 14th, 79.3%, a good improvement over last year's result of 75.8%. And of course, we saw Luke Richardson be let go. Anders Sorensen took over as the interim head coach, so there is going to be a coaching search. We do know that. Goaltending wise, they didn't really have a lot of great numbers that way either. Of course, they did have Laurent Brossoit technically on the roster, but was not playing because of injury. They had Peter Mrazek, who they ended up trading. He's back in Detroit. Arvid Soderblom didn't have a great year. He had 10 wins and a .318 save percentage, or goals against, and an .898 save percentage. So that's not overly great. They picked up Spencer Knight throughout the trade market as well from the Florida Panthers. He didn't play a lot, but he did have a few good games in there and has the possibility and the potential to be the goalie of the future. Had 5 wins during his short stretch there at the end of the year. Now, leading scorers this year were Connor Bedard with 67 points. Ryan Donato had a 30-goal season, 62 points, and Tara Vinen with 58. So, obviously, they're younger players that are still working on becoming, their full potential. Like Bedard will continue to improve here and put up better numbers. Now, going into this offseason, they do have over $30 million in salary cap space. They have a projection right now of only $64.5 million tied up for next year on 20 contracts. So the team has lots of flexibility. There's no doubt about that. Looking at their expiring contracts, on the RFA side, they've got Philip Kurashev, Wyatt Kaiser, Louis Crevier, and Arvid Soderblom. On the UFA side, we've got Andreas Athanasiou, Alec Martinez, Pat Maroon, and Ryan Donato. Now, we already know Maroon and Martinez are retiring, so they will not be back. Athanasiou was in the minors. I can say probably with certainty that he won't be back. Ryan Donato was a player that they wanted to have back. They did not trade him at the deadline. They give themselves more runway to get him signed. I'm surprised it hasn't happened so far, but we'll see. I mean, as much as the team really liked what he did this year and he had a big-time career season, they're going to want to be careful not to, lock in too much term here and too much commitment just in case, that kind of explosion doesn't quite duplicate itself. As much as he had a great year and maybe he wants some big money, I don't know. But, in Donato's case, it's quite a large percentage above what he had done before. So you have to proceed with caution on that front. On the RFA side, it's hard to say. I don't know that Kurashev will get a qualifying offer and be back. I suspect the others probably will be, but we'll have to see. Either way, none of those contracts are anything that's going to cost them really anything expensive by any means. Now, when it comes to contract extensions, so these are players that are entering the final season, there's a bunch that are eligible, including a couple of key young players like Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar. So Bedard is going to be interesting. I know there was some rumors that he wasn't happy in Chicago and may not want to sign. I don't think there's any truth to that. But Bedard is definitely eligible for an extension this year after completing his second season. So does he sign one this year? Do they give him the big long-term deal? Does he go with a bridge deal? Do they wait? I mean, Bedard might be better suited to wait and see if he has a big bump in his results this year. I don't know, but it's going to be one of the bigger storylines in Chicago for sure. This offseason will be a Bedard extension. Frank Nazar, on the other hand, doesn't have quite the production and amount of games and experience just yet. He'll definitely get signed. It'll be interesting to see what they do for a contract, but it won't be as big or as lucrative as Bedard. Colton Dach and Lucas Reichel and Joe Veleno also eligible to enter their final years of their contracts as well, to be soon to be restricted free agents as well. So they could be signed. There may not be a big rush there, so I'm not sure if we'll see that or not. Spencer Knight as well, and considering he was acquired from Florida and is kind of projected to be the goalie of the future, I would think they'll probably take their time with this one too, but he could do an extension. I mean, he's definitely a player they like to have around and help it work out, but there's work to do to see if it's going to. Of course, they get a few players that are pending UFAs. I'm not sure if they'll be extended or not. They could very well take their time. There's no big rush, but when it comes to Foligno, Dickinson, Mikheyev, Connor Murphy, I don't know what all those players desire to stay. Do they want to go to a more contending team? We don't really know that. So, I mean, they could be extended, but there's probably, like I said, there's no big rush there. There's not, besides possibly trying to get ahead of extensions for Bedard and Nazar, there's really not a lot there to really sink your teeth into and say, we have to get this done right away. So we'll see. Going into next year as well, on top of these players, who are some of the other impactful rookies? Well, they had a bunch join the team at the end of the year and showed some really good glimpses, like Oliver Moore, Sam Rinzel. Rinzel, I think, has potential for high-end, top pair D. Same with Artemi Levshunov. Levshunov and Rinzel very well could be a potential, two of their top four guys for sure. I mean, time will tell, but it looks like there's potential there. Ryan Green was another college signing as well, who could have an impact on next year's Blackhawk team as well. Looking at the top burning questions facing the franchise going into this offseason, there is a bunch, including who's going to be the new head coach. I don't know that they're going to be going with interim head coach here, Anders Sorensen. Right now, they're heavily linked to David Carl, who's successfully ran that University of Denver program, won multiple national championships, won national gold as well, Team USA at the last two World Junior Championships. Quite an accomplished younger coach who could relate to a lot of these younger players. Some of them would even be familiar with Carl from the USA program. So certainly a player that's going to come in with a lot of, I think, looking for a lot, not too demanding, but to get him out of the University of Denver, they're going to have to commit a lot of resources, term, and money to him. Otherwise, it's not going to be worth his while. And he's going to have to be reassured that, he can grow with these young players, and he's going to have a long rope before he's let go. Because that's the last thing, we had already heard about Carl, that he knows a lot of coaches are hired to be fired and doesn't really want to leave his cushy gig at the University of Denver just for a short stint and be let go. So he has to be assured some patience if he does go to Chicago. But he will be right at the top of their list, and we'll see if they can lure him in or go in another direction. Of course, goaltending will be a big one as well. Do they go, is Brossoit coming back or not? What's his status? Soderblom, Knight, what's the goaltending going to look like next year? I think that's all of the answers come internally. At least that's the way it looks right now, but you never know. There could be trades, so we'll have to see where things go on that front, but certainly a big question mark as they traded Mrazek, and goaltending has been a fairly big issue for them as well, but the team in front of them also kind of goes hand in hand here, but they finally have a goalie in Knight who I think can grow with the rest of the team, so I suspect he'll become the number one next year. At least that's the hope and expectation of the organization. Of course, like I said, the losing has taken its toll on some of their young players, like Connor Bedard. So they have a lot of cap space. I wonder if we're going to see Chicago, because they have a lot of picks. They have a lot of good prospects now. Could we see them spend some money in the free agent market to bring in some good veterans? Would they be able to lure in a player like, a Brock Besser or a Nikolai Ehlers or some of those, potential top free agent scoring wingers? Is there any chance they could get Mitch Marner out of Toronto? I know right now, of course, the Leafs are still in the playoffs, and until their playoff run and season is over, it's going to be hard to probably kind of judge what Marner is going to do. But right now, Mitch Marner is heading for free agency. I would think at the very least, if he's available to talk to, that the Blackhawks at least make him an offer. I mean, no guarantee he comes, but I think you have to try. It's not very often a player like him becomes available, and considering how good of a addition that would be to work with a lot of these top young players, I think they have to look into it at the very least. But certainly, either that or could they trade for Elias Pettersson out of Vancouver? We know his future there is very uncertain, but they have the cap space. They have lots of assets when it comes to prospects and draft picks. Be either into the free agent market for a guy like Marner, the trade market for a guy like Pettersson. You have to think that there's a possibility here that they go big game hunting and bring in a top scoring veteran forward to work with these guys to help this team take a big step next year. I can't guarantee that's going to happen, but based on how everything is lined up and what we've heard around the league, I think it's a possibility. They're at the very least going to try. There's no doubt about that. And of course, they have another big draft to look forward to. The 2025 NHL Draft is going to give them another top 5 selection. We don't know where they're going to pick. It could be 1, 2, 3. At this rate, they have the second best odds at first overall. So the worst case scenario is 2 teams below them win the lottery spots. They can pick as low as 4th. So obviously, if Matthew Schaefer goes first, and if they don't win first, then they have a good shot at a pretty good forward, whether it be Misa or Haggins or Martone or O'Brien, Desnoyers. One of those guys could be a great fit in Chicago, depending on where they slot and I guess what they like out of those players. But I think a guy like Michael Misa, if they could get their hands on him, would be phenomenal for this team. But we'll see. I mean, they very well could grab themselves, a real franchise-altering centerman between Misa and Haggins. If they can get one of those 2 guys, I think that would be a great fit and really be a big help. Of course, hard to say exactly who's going straight to the NHL too out of this group, but either way, regardless if it's right away or not, they can get themselves another real big important piece here in the 2025 NHL Draft. And they have other picks, which it wouldn't be shocking to see them package some other picks and assets together to bring in some other players too. So could the Blackhawks be a very interesting team? I think we could see some big moves here between getting a real good player at the draft, between that and of course, maybe dipping into the trade or free agent market to go after a Marner or Pettersson. I mean, I don't know that they actually accomplish it, but I can see Kyle Davidson at least dipping his toe in there and trying. See what he can do, see what the prices are going to be. Does he have any chance to land a top player to help take this team? I think they need to look into it, but let me know what you think and the expectations for the Blackhawks down in the comments. We'll talk about it further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.